The day Idris Malenga returned home, the Black Marble mansion felt less like a homecoming and more like a coronation he never asked for. The gates rose before him like the jaws of some ancient beast carved from obsidian stone, towering over the driveway in the same intimidating way his father had towered over an entire industry. A fleet of black cars, silent chauffeurs, and mourners dressed in tailored suits filled the compound. They weren't there to grieve. They were there to see what happened next. His father, the legendary, feared, untouchable Matteo Malenga, had been one of the most powerful real estate men in Africa. A man who built entire skylines out of nothing but ambition, intimidation, and alliances no one dared question. When he died, the Black Marble Empire passed to the only child he ever publicly acknowledged, Idris, a man who had never wanted it. He stepped into the marble-floored foyer where his mother stood at the top of the stairs, dressed in a dark silk gown, her posture sharp as a blade. "Your father left something for you," she said, her voice a velvet whisper hiding iron. She lifted a small package, a simple wooden box sealed with black wax, and pressed it into his hand. "He said you'd know what to do." Inside, Idris found a single brass key and a handwritten note in his father's unmistakable angular scrawl. "Some land was never ours. Find the truth, nothing else." Idris frowned. His father had been a man of empires, not riddles. But that night, when the mourners left and the house fell silent, he sat alone in his father's study, staring at the key. He knew enough about the business to recognize a problem buried inside a message like that, and he knew his father never wrote anything without purpose. The next morning, he hired a financial forensics expert, Aaron Kithinji, a quiet, sharp-eyed auditor with a reputation for uncovering the things companies preferred to keep buried together. They began a full audit of Black Marble holdings. Within a week, Aaron came to him with the first red flag. "There's a property that doesn't make sense," he said, sliding a file forward. It was a sprawling estate in the interior, registered in the early days of the empire. No revenue, no tenants, no activity for years. A ghost property. Idris had never seen it. "What do you think it is?" he asked. Aaron tapped the file. "Either a mistake or the heart of something your father didn't want anyone to see." They dug deeper. The more they searched, the more strange inconsistencies appeared in the company's earliest land acquisitions: missing villages, forged titles, sudden relocation orders signed by politicians who mysteriously retired right after patterns began to emerge. Dark patterns. When Idris confronted his mother, she did not even blink. "Some truths die with their owners," she said. "Your father built a kingdom. Do not become the boy who burns it down." But it was already too late. The syndicate noticed his digging. The syndicate, his father's silent partners. The men who controlled the land registry, the politicians who expedited permits, the foreign investors who provided quiet capital and expected unquestioning loyalty. They summoned Idris to a private meeting in a luxury hotel suite, their faces half hidden behind cigar smoke. "You've inherited greatness," one of them said calmly. "Don't destroy it by questioning what built it." Another leaned forward. "Your father made difficult choices for the country, for you, for us all. There's nothing to gain from revisiting ancient history." The message was clear. Stop digging. Idris walked out without responding, and then he turned to Aaron. "We're going to the estate." The abandoned property lay deep in the countryside, concealed behind overgrown gates and cracked stone walls. It had once been a mansion. Now it was a skeleton. The windows broken, the floors warped, the silence oppressive. "Why would your father keep this?" Aaron said, sweeping a flashlight across peeling paint. Idris didn't know. But as they moved deeper into the house, he noticed subtle irregularities, the faint metallic tapping beneath the floorboards. A draft coming from behind a bookshelf, nails newer than the rest. And then they found it. A trapdoor concealed beneath an old rug, They pried it open. A cold metallic staircase descended into darkness. At the bottom was a vault, not for money, not for jewels, but for records. Boxes upon boxes of documents, photos, maps, audio tapes, signed agreements, land titles, entire files that revealed the true origin of the Black Marble Empire. Forced evictions. Entire villages removed from ancestral land. Local leaders bribed to sign false consent forms. Police forces ordered to clear zones. Foreign banks funding land seizures in exchange for stakes in future developments. And at the center of it all, Idris Malenga, Idris' father, smiling in photographs, shaking hands with politicians, signing contracts that traded lives for land. One box was labeled, "For Idris, if he chooses truth." Inside was a recorded confession. His father's voice echoed through the vault as Idris listened. "I built an empire on land that was not mine. I destroyed families, I erased histories. But I did it believing our nation needed it. If you are hearing this, my son, it means the empire has grown too powerful to be stopped from within. You must choose. Continue my legacy or end it." Idris felt something crack inside him. His entire identity, every privilege he'd grown up with, had been purchased in suffering. Before they left the vault, they heard footsteps upstairs. Someone else was in the house. They barely escaped through a side window as unknown men entered the property. Aaron's car was vandalized. Idris received a message that night. "Close the vault, or we will close it for you." The syndicate had made its move, but so did Idris. He leaked every document to an international investigative agency. Photos, contracts, audio files, maps, everything. The story exploded across the continent. Black Marble stocks collapsed within hours. Politicians denied involvement. Foreign banks issued statements. Investigations launched across 3 countries. His mother disappeared. Aaron went into protective custody, and Idris walked into the headquarters of his father's empire, a building of black stone with his family name carved across its facade, and resigned publicly. He held the world's cameras and said the words no Malenga had ever dared to speak. "My father built a kingdom, but it was not built in honor. Today, it ends." The Black Marble Empire died in a single afternoon. Billions lost, alliances shattered, lawsuits filed, properties seized by the state streets filled with protesters demanding the return of stolen land. And Idris, who could have inherited unimaginable wealth, walked away with nothing but his name. Some said he destroyed a dynasty out of guilt. Some said he was a coward. Some said he was the bravest man in his bloodline. Only Idris knew the truth. He had not burned his father's empire. He had simply brought it into the light. He inherited a kingdom. He chose to bury it.